Oh yeah, it's got a lot of content to catch up this week, guys. Got to starting off with a banger. And what could be one of the most exciting combos of spirit brands that we have seen, Bardstown Bourbon Company has released its latest in the popular collaborative series lineup, a blend of straight rye and bourbon, finished in Foursquare Barbados rum barrels. On paper, this should be one of the most delicious whiskeys for 2023. But is it? Let's find out. Stay tuned. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum. Welcome back to the show, Whiskey Tube family. Like, subscribe, help grow the channel for 2023. Appreciate it. Now, the best thing about this combo of Foursquare Rum and Bardstown Bourbon Company is that both are known for unbridled transparency in the spirits that they create. This collaboration celebrates our shared value of connecting people with our authentic process, liquid content, and provenance. It is a dream come true to bring this project to life, said Dan Calloway, VP of Product Development for Bardstown Bourbon Company. So let's talk a little bit about Foursquare Rum. Their distillery is located on a former sugar farm that dates back to approximately 1720 on the tiny Caribbean island of Barbados. Now, Foursquare enjoys its place as the pinnacle of high age and high quality rums. The distillery was reopened by the Seal family in 1996. Distilling operations and blending are currently directed by Richard Seal, fourth generation trade distiller of R.L. Seal and Company. His exceptional cask selections represent the unique and rare offerings of Foursquare Rum Distillery that he hand selects when he feels they are of the best quality. These are one-of-a-kind expressions available only for a limited time and showcases truly unique approaches to both rum blending and maturation. All right, so the details on the collab. This is a custom blend of 90% Indiana 7-year-old rye whiskey with a mash bill of 51% rye, 45% corn, and 4% malted barley. Now that last 10% is a 17-year-old Tennessee bourbon with a mash bill of 84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley. The blend was aged for 23 months in Foursquare rum barrels on the top floor of Rickhouse G at Bardstown Bourbon Company. This is bottled at 107 proof and priced for an MSRP of $159.99. Roughly 3,000 cases of this finished bourbon will be available through Bardstown Bourbon Company's gift shop and retailers in 24 states and online at sealbox.com. I love what they did with this label for this one, guys. The black label with the copper, like almost metallic text, the metallic print for Foursquare Collaborative Series. It just looks super classy, super rich. Obviously, like all Bardstown Bourbon Company bottles, all the details for the blend are right here. So let's dive into it and see what we get, guys. So first time I ever cracked this whiskey open, and I know I like to go back to like the first time I cracked it open because, you know, most of you guys that are watching, you're gonna crack it open for the first time and you might not get what I'm getting now that I'm about 3 or 4 pours deep into this. But the first time that I opened this, I got a lot of nuttiness and I got a lot of citrus, which made me think, oh man, that Tennessee whiskey that's in there, we all know where it's from, that 10% Tennessee whiskey, even though it was only 10% in the blend, I think was coming through in the beginning. And I still feel like it's still doing that somewhat. There is a nuttiness to this. I mean, I honestly, when I first broke it open, it reminded me a little bit of Wild Turkey, a little bit, because I was getting a lot of orange zest and I was getting a little bit of nuttiness. Sometimes you get nuttiness with Wild Turkey, so it's kind of like, I'm like, that smells familiar. One thing that has started to come out more, which I think is the Foursquare influence, is molasses. There's definitely a little bit of a molasses note in there. It's not as sweet and dense as I expected it to be, especially when I first cracked it open. I think the fact that I got that nuttiness and I got that citrus and that zest to it, I was a little surprised. I really thought it was going to explode with molasses and dark fruits and maybe a little bit of maple syrup, but it's not really getting a lot of that here. There's also some clove and cinnamon kind of in the background, but the nose is actually pretty delicate. It's not as forceful as I thought it was going to be, especially being in those Foursquare rum barrels for about 2 years. So let's give it a try. I will say the palate has gotten a lot better. My first couple sips of this, I was not that impressed. Like, I thought it was good, but I did not think it was $160 good. But as you dive in, and guys, listen, you know, you can believe what you want. I personally, and I've said this before, I think more than anything, finished bourbons, finished whiskeys change with some airtime. They open up, they get a little bit more powerful with the finish. They tend to balance out a little bit, and that is what's happening with this. I think my first sip, I was like, oh man, I taste a little bit too much Tennessee in this, and I think it's gonna throw some people off. The flavors here are starting to come to the forefront, especially those Foursquare rum characteristics. This right off the bat, front of the palate, you get all the spice from the rye, and there's a lot of like dark fruits going on, coupled with the molasses. But the spice is probably the most prevalent, you know, note I can give you. It is spicy. There is, even though it's only like one of those barely rye mash bills, it's definitely bringing the spice here. Second sip is where you start to get into the rum characteristics. But I do think this starts off a lot more savory than sweet. I don't really think you get the sweet till it hits about mid-palate. I think in the beginning, it's all rye spice. It's cinnamon, it's clove, it's black pepper, it's a little bit spiky. Then it hits mid-palate, that's when the rum characteristics come in. It's not like deep and rich. I thought it would be a little bit more than it is still. It's still kind of, I feel like, fighting through that spice. But molasses, a little bit of like a coconut pineapple type of combination going on the mid palate here. I still think you get a little bit of that nuttiness as well. And the finish, again, it kind of goes back to what you got in the front of the palate. It goes back to spice. So it starts with spice, it gets very sweet from the rum, and then it ends with spice. So all in all, I mean, that's just a nice balanced whiskey. I mean, essentially you have a Bourbon here, finished in a Foursquare rum barrel. See, now on that sip, things are starting to get a little bit more citrusy. Not only pineapple, but that orange is starting to come back to the forefront, which I get a lot of orange peel, a lot of orange zest, or like torch, like orange peel I get. Especially when you're talking about that Tennessee stuff that rhymes with forged pickle. So yeah, it's weird because I feel like I want more of the rum in this. Like collaboration, Foursquare rum, I want to taste more of it. And I feel like the spice, and I really honestly think that a little bit, that 10% Tennessee, I'm not going to say it's taking it over, but I'm going to say there is an influence there on the palate here. There's a level of sweetness that this has, but for me, it hits a wall. I want more of it. I want more of the Foursquare rum in this bottle. I want to taste the rich maple syrup, the molasses, that level of sweetness. If you guys have never had a Foursquare rum, it might be the best rum for bourbon drinkers on the planet, just because, I mean, you get into high age statements with some of these Foursquare rums. You're looking at 10, 11, 12 years old, 14, 16. They get really high. It's column still, pot still, cast strength, different finishes they use, and the level of flavor you get is just extreme. And I just feel like, for whatever reason, I'm missing it in this. Like, I want it to come through more, which is surprising because they age it for about 2 years in these Foursquare rum casks. So on the palate, it's staying pretty consistent. On the front, a lot of rye spice, a little savory, maybe a little cinnamon, clove, black pepper. And then as soon as it hits mid-palate, molasses, a little bit of like that pineapple, maple syrup, molasses combination. Actually, not so much maple syrup. I'll just say you definitely get molasses, and I'm definitely getting a little bit of like a brown sugary aspect to it. I think there's a little combination of a pineapple, and again, that citrus note that I'm getting, which I think is from forged pickle. So, and then it finishes off with a really nice spicy finish, a little bit sweet, a little more brown sugar caramel on the finish. Now, as good as that all sounds, it's still not, I don't know, I feel like the flavor punch on this is just slightly hitting a wall a bit. Like, I want more of it. I generally like a lot of balance and finished whiskeys, but man, you put Foursquare on the label. I want to taste the Foursquare. And while it's there, I feel like I want more. So let's go to the final breakdown. All All right, guys, final breakdown on the Bardstown Foursquare collab. Price $159.99. Call it 160 bucks. Secondary market value, haven't seen these yet, but generally these will go up to about 200, 250 if they are upcharged. Availability for this, I'm gonna say good. Availability for this, you have 3,000 cases of this, 24 states, available online, also at the Bardstown Bourbon Company gift shop. So you have a good shot to get this if you want it. Value for this one. For value, I'm gonna say below average here because there are so many finished bourbons and whiskeys on the market these days. You could find someone else that's done rum. You could find, you know, obviously a lot of other different finishes. Now, what Bardstown Bourbon Company has done that's different is they partnered with, you know, arguably the best rum maker on the planet in Foursquare. Now, what that means to somebody, what that means to the average drinker or not, they may not know what Foursquare is. Hopefully, if you watch this video, now you do know who Foursquare is. But, you know, that doesn't always play into the fact of a consumer going and seeing a bottle for $160. So for this, I'll stay below average. As far as the most I'd pay, do not pay over retail for this. So stay at that $159.99 price point. As far as alternatives go, there are a lot out there. You could probably search for rum finished whiskeys, but a couple that come to mind is the Peerless rum finished bourbon that they have. And Sagamore Spirit actually makes a rum finished rye that's actually really good. Is it Foursquare rum? No, and I think that makes the difference. But if you don't want to spend $160 for this, those bottles are more affordable. And as far as a recommend, is it a skip? Is it a try before you buy? Is it a buy, or is it a buy and back it up? For me, this one falls in try before you buy. This was a no-brainer for this one. For me, this is just missing that extra level of Foursquare sweetness that I want in this bottle. I think, for whatever reason, the rye and possibly a little bit of that 17-year-old Tennessee whiskey has taken over the palate a little bit. The Foursquare comes through, but it's a little bit too delicate. If you're gonna put Foursquare on this label and price it at $160, I wanna feel all the Foursquare. I want that maple syrup, that molasses. I want all those amazing flavors that Foursquare gives you to just punch me in the mouth. And for this, for whatever reason, is just not doing it. Is it an enjoyable whiskey? Absolutely. But before you buy and spend $160 plus tax on this bottle, make sure you try it before you buy it. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this review for the new Bardstown Bourbon Company collaboration with Foursquare Rum. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, find me on Instagram. Find me on Twitter. Let me know down in the comments if you guys scored one of these yet. They just released these, I believe, last week, I think on Friday, at the Distillery. They'll start making their way around the country, those 24 states, and also online, as I mentioned. Let me know what you think of it, if you agree, if you don't agree. Is your bottle a lot sweeter than mine might be? Curious to hear your thoughts. And with that said, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. See you next time right here on The Mash and Drum. Cheers, folks.